Hi again. I'd like to talk a little more about Xcode, and why don't we take the approach that we're going to build a hypothetical project, okay? So with this video, I just want to explore using Storyboard and creating an interface with Storyboard by adding a couple simple UI elements, and we'll focus on the UILabel right now. So here I am in Xcode, and I've got the startup screen in front of me. I'm going to click on the Create New Project button here. And when I click on that, it opens up the pane here and it shows me the sample type projects that I can build. I'm going to make sure that I'm under iOS application right now. And you can see that these are the default application templates that are available, and there's the master detail, the page-based, single view, tabbed, and game. I'm going to choose the single view application for this example. So I'll click on next after I've selected single view, and then I'll give this this app a name here. I'll call it weather app. And you can leave all the settings here at the default. Make sure that it's language Swift and iPhone size right now, even though we're actually not going to program anything today. So I'll once I've got those settings set, I'll click the next button. I'll find a location to save my project. Maybe I'll put it on the desktop here. And here's my project. Okay, so again, these options here are for building our project, and we don't have to worry about those right now. What I want to focus on now is Storyboard. So I'm going to go over to this side to the project editor pane, and I'm going to find my way to the main.storyboard file. And when I click on this file, main.storyboard, it opens up in the editor here, and you'll see what your project would look like when you built it. Okay, it won't look exactly the same. It'll look pretty close though. There's a few things in here, right? Since this is the single view template, it comes in here with a single view. So a view is something that you can see on the computer screen, okay? And it has code associated with it too that draws it, and properties that you can set to determine how it displays itself. And and views can contain other views also. In this view right here, we have the single view right here, and there's nothing in it, but we're going to add elements to it. So here's our view, and you can see there's nothing else outside here because this is the single view, right? You'll notice there's an arrow right there. That arrow shows the entry point to the application. So in other words, when this application launches, it's this view that we're going to see first. Okay, so the arrow is saying like this is the first view, this is the starting view for the application. And in other projects you might have multiple views in Storyboard, like when we looked at the for example, when we looked at the master detail template, it came with two views, right? Because it had the master view and the detail view. And one of those views had the arrow on it to say that it was the starting view. So anyway, so here's the view here. And if I want to add elements to the view, what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on the view here, and then I'll go over to the sidebar here on the right, and you can set options for the view, okay? You can set the size and the orientation and the status bar and other options. Down here at the bottom, you're going to see a list of objects, right? Now I'll scroll through these slowly here, right? And you can see there's a lot of objects in here. The menu goes on for a long time. And these are all objects that can be dragged into Storyboard. All of the elements here that are yellow, that have this yellow circle, right? These are all view controllers, and they represent a whole, sort of screen or window like this view controller does here. So if you want to add a whole new view to your project, a whole new view controller, then you can drag one of these into the project. The elements down here are simple views that can be added into any one of these view controllers. So in this view, I want to mock up a simple weather app. So I want my app to display the city, the date, the temperature, and then the minimum temperature and maximum temperature for that day, okay? And then a short description for the weather, Okay, so what I'll do to start with here is I'm going to scroll down in the list of objects here, and I'm going to grab the UI label. And the UI label is a text element that sits on the screen, and it can display text in any number of ways. So anytime you want to display text on the screen, you're going to probably use a UI label. If you have a large block of text, like paragraphs long or pages long of text, then you might want to use this other view down here called the text view. Right, and this contains a scrolling, text block. Okay, but for single lines of text and even multiple lines of text that are short, you can use the UI label. So I'm going to use the UI label here, and I'll drag it out into the view. And you can see Xcode conveniently provides these little lines there to show me that this is aligned with the center, or if I want to align it to the top, that shows that it's aligned to the top. And it has some default margins built in, so you can see that it gives me the default margin distance there. Okay, so I think what I'm going to do now is I'm going to set up a label to display the city. So you can grab the corners on the edges of the UI label and drag it out like this, and then you can drag it a little bit taller there. Okay, and to set the text options here for how the text displays, you're going to go over to the right side here and make sure you're on the property inspector here, or the attribute inspector, right? And it'll say the element that you're working on. So I'm working on the UI label, and it gives me some options for text display here, okay? And then it gives me the text that's actually displayed in the label. So maybe I want to put city name in here. Right, and you can see now it says city name. And you can also double click on the label and edit the label directly here. So maybe I want to change that to San Francisco, right? And below that you can set the color for the label. So they have some default colors. These are all the system colors that are built in. So if I want to use the system gray, I can choose that. If I want to pick my own color, I can click on the color chit here and then choose a color off of the color picker. And the color picker here has a couple modes. It's got grayscale, RGB, CMYK, right? So I'll pick the RGB slider and, pick another color here, right? And then I can choose, text alignment. Maybe I'll put that in the center. And then above that, it says font. And you can click on this, this little T there, and it'll open up an editor that lets you choose one of the default font styles. Like I could choose headline, and that's the headline font in iOS, their standard style. Or you can click on this and choose custom, and then you can set the size and the other font features like the font family or the the font style yourself. Okay, so I'll choose that. And then maybe I'll drag out another label here, and I want this one to display the temperature. So I'm going to drag it a little higher there and make it a little taller and a little wider. And for the label here, for the temperature label, I'll just put in, what's the temperature here in San Francisco right now? I think it's 55 degrees there. I just checked it on my iPhone. And so I'll choose that, and maybe I'll set the font size. Maybe I'll just I'll click on this and just type in 120 pixels or something. And then maybe make the text center align. I could set another color here too. Maybe pick a color there, some terrible color, right? And then there's my temperature. Okay. Maybe I want to add another UI label here, and this will be the city name. So I'll probably, or this will be the weather description, right? So today it says showers is the description, so I'll put that down there. Maybe I'll make this center align also, and I could adjust the font size. Here's a little note. If I adjust the font size and the font gets too large to appear in the label, you'll see that it starts to get cropped. Okay, so you can see the text is getting cropped there. And that's how the UI label works. So if you want the text to be visible in the field, it either needs to be smaller than that box, or you need to increase the size of the box to show the text. Okay? Maybe that's a little big here. I'll make this, maybe I'll change it to 32 pixels there. That looks pretty good. And then I'll align it here. And there we go. So I got the temperature. Maybe I also want to show the date. Maybe I'll add another UI text label here. I'll just drag it into the window, put it below here, make it a little bit wider. And then I'll put the date in here. So it's Friday, December, what's it, 19th, 2015, 14, there we go, right? So, so there's my label there. And I'll align it in the center. So anyway, and you could continue with that. Okay, you can set the colors. There's a lot of options here too for the text label. I didn't even show them all. So feel free to explore these options here and, go all the way to the bottom here, and you can set the background color and the alpha and the tint and, all these other properties. Feel free to play around with them. If you feel you need, pixel perfect positioning features, if you click on the label and you go to the little ruler symbol here in the right side, if you click on that, these numbers show the frame of the box. So the X is the upper corner, I think, and then this Y is the top edge there, right? So the X and Y is the upper corner, and then the width and height are set here. So if you want to make your text box a little bit wider, or you want to move it over a couple pixels, you can use these options here if you like. Okay. So anyway, once you've got your weather thing laid out, right, you can test your project again in one of the simulators. So I'll choose the iPhone 6 simulator again and click the play button. And when I do that, you're going to see this project and how it would look in the iPhone. So I'm just waiting a moment for the simulator to open. Any moment now. Yeah, there it is. Yeah, there we go, right? So here's my app there. And you can see here, my app is sitting right about there, and then everything's kind of off the screen, right? And there's a couple ways to deal with this, okay? So if you know that you're developing for a particular screen size, then you can select all the elements here and move them over, and then test again. And that's a little better. If you want to see, this size right here is a little odd. I don't know of any iOS devices with this screen ratio there. So if you want to adjust the size of the box here to design in, click on the top here, and so the box is selected. You can see the outline turns blue. And then under simulated metrics, you can choose the size here, and you can pick the size of the device that you're going to work with. So if I was going to build something for a 4-inch iPhone, I think that's the iPhone 5, I could click on 4-inch, and then this shows me the size of the iPhone 5. And then I can work with my objects here and kind of make them fit on the screen. So I'll align it there. And pull this over to the edge there. And then maybe pull these edges over. If you'll probably notice that if something gets off the screen here like this, I can't really grab the handles that appear outside of the frame there. So, you might have to move things around until until you can grab the handles, if the objects were larger than the screen size that you changed to. Let me align this thing again here, and maybe I'll pull this over to the edge there. There we go. So that's a little better. And then if I test, you'll see now it kind of fits a little better. Not perfect. This is the iPhone 6, which has a slightly larger screen size. You know, I chose the iPhone 5 there, so now if I pick iPhone 5 off the menu and then test again, I'm just waiting for the iPhone 5 to update here. When you switch to a different simulator, it's kind of got to reboot the, or a different app, it's got to reboot the simulator there. So here's my app. Oh, and that fits pretty good. Now, you're probably thinking that, you know, we really want this to be good on all devices, and you can do that too. I'm going to talk about that in a separate discussion. It'll probably be several discussions, but just understand that it is possible to set these elements so that they resize themselves to fit any screen size, okay? And that's done with a whole system of constraints, and we'll just make that its own discussion. So for right now, just design your weather app to fit one of the screen sizes. Set the screen size here that you want to work with, and then make your app fit that, and then test with that screen size, and then you'll be getting a pretty accurate representation of what your app will look like on a real device.